Hi my friends, welcome again to my channel. I am so glad to be here again. Today I want to talk about repository design pattern. As you know, Laravel uses Eloquent to interact with database, and each table in the database has a related entity or model to have some interaction functions. If we want to use just models and controllers for connecting to the database, it makes our code sloppy and make it unreadable. 2 years ago, I found that if I can make a repository for each entity and write some database functions there, it's gonna help me to have a clean and readable code. In fact, a repository is a separation between a domain and a persistent layer. The repository provides a collection interface to access data stored in a database. Actually, the main idea to use repository pattern is to create a bridge between models and controllers. The repository design pattern will help us to reduce the application of code, decrease the chance of making programming errors, maintain code easily, and also it's gonna help us to test business and data access logic separately. So let's dive into the code to see how repositories can help us in coding. First, go to the Docker Laravel project in my GitHub account and clone this template. Git clone and paste the address. For running the project on your local machine, make sure to do all the steps in the README file. First, go to src and install the composer. Okay, cd docker Laravel and the cd src composer install. And the next file is copying env.example2.env file. Okay, so let's open the Visual Studio Code and let's create a new file .env and copy env example inside this file. I want to use MySQL and the DB host is gonna be DB based on docker compose.yaml, which is the name of the container, and I wanna change the database name to to product store, and the username is gonna be root and password is password. I don't change them. Okay, I don't want to use Postgres, so I want to delete these lines of code and uncomment the DB MySQL container, and also I don't need to pgadmin. Let's comment the phpMyAdmin. The container name is blog. I want to change this to product store. The database name is gonna be product store, and the root password is gonna be password. So, and let's build the image docker compose build. Okay, for running the project, please run this command docker compose up-d. Okay, I have another container which is using the project. Okay, let's remove this repository, this container, and run this command again, like a composer up-d. Okay, everything is done. You can see the landing page of Laravel on port 8080 localhost. So yeah, this is my project. Okay, so let's go to create some tables and create our project. In this step, I will create 3 tables. The first one is the products table. So let's create this table with this command: docker compose execute app php artisan make migration create products table. If you don't know about Docker Compose and you don't know how to configure Docker on your Laravel project, just make sure to check my Docker Laravel video and then come back here and follow the other steps. And the next table that I want to create is categories. Each table, each product is gonna have multi categories, so these 2 table will have a many-to-many relationship. So another pivot table with a product categories name I need to be created. So let's go to the code and open migrations and related tables. The products is gonna have a column with name and another column with inventory name. I don't want to put another columns, just I want to focus using a repository design pattern, and there is no need to add additional columns. And the category is gonna have a column and it will be the name column. The product categories table, it's gonna have unsigned big integer column, it's product ID, and it will be a foreign key to the products table. For instance, ID on products, and it's gonna cascade on delete, and we will have another foreign key to store the category ID categories. Okay, I finished the tables. So let's migrate the created table to the database with docker compose execute app php artisan migrate command. It's done. As I said before, each table is gonna have a model to have some helper and relationship functions. So let's create a model for products and categories table. There is no need to create a model for the pivot table. So let's make a model. Make model product. And the category model. Okay, let's add the label attribute. Gonna have a name and inventory. The other function that I'm gonna define is categories function. It's gonna return us belongs to many result. Turn this belongs to many category class, and the pivot table is product categories. If you don't know how to write many-to-many relationships and fill these functions, just make sure to check my Bookstore API video. I don't want to focus on these relationships and the codes. I just want to focus on repository design pattern, protected, label. Okay, the category model is gonna have a function with products because each category can belongs to many products. Okay, return this belongs to many product class, and the pivot table is product categories. Okay, the model is finished, so let's go to create our repositories. Now it's time to add repositories. We are going to have a base repository class which other repositories extend it. Okay, let's create a folder with the repositories name. Inside the app folder, it's gonna have a file with base repository.php name. I want to add a folder inside repositories for interfaces, and I'm gonna create a base repository interface that the base repository is gonna implement this interface. So PHP add namespace app repositories and interfaces. Interface base repository. Okay, this class, base repository, is gonna have some usual CRUD functions. For example, it's gonna have create functions, public function create. It's gonna give attributes, and return the model type result. Don't forget the semicolon, and the public function find. It's gonna have int id, and it will return us a model or null. Public function update, it's gonna have an attribute and id. It will return us boolean. Public function destroy, and return us boolean. Another function is get all function, public function all, and it's gonna return a collection type result. Okay, so our base repository class should have these 5 functions. So let's create our base repository. Name space app repositories. The class name is base repository, implements I base repository. It's gonna have a model which will be used in functions, public function, construct, model, and okay, this class should have create functions and create function, and this gonna return this model create attribute. Another function is I forgot find, and it's gonna return the model result or null. Return this model find id, and the public function destroy the record will use id, and if a record exists, it's gonna return the result of delete function, and else it's gonna return false as a result. Another function is update, and we'll have the same structure. Update attributes, and another function is gonna be the public function all. Return this model all sort by ID. So now it's time to add another repositories. Each entity should have a related repository. For example, we will have a category repository class and a product category product repository class. Sorry. So let's create these files. Product and another one is category repository.php. So let's create the class product category extends base repository, and I don't need to put another functions for now. I just want to define a construction and put the product class as a model to parent class. Okay, product, let's import this class models and product. Another repository is category repository. Let's fill this class category repository. Sorry, this class has a wrong name. Product repository and okay, product repository. Okay, another one is category repository extends base repository. Okay, it's gonna have a construction function and category okay. I finished the repositories. I need to change this product repository later after creating the controllers. So let's go to create our controllers. Repositories will help us to have a readable and thin controllers. Let's go and I will show you how does this happen. Make two controllers, one product controller and the category controller. As you can see, both of these both of these classes are extending the controller class. So I prefer to put some usual crowd functions inside the controller class. So this class is gonna have a repo construct ibase repository type, and this repo is repo. Let's import the ibase repository interfaces. You can use interfaces in dependency injection and as a type. So our controller's gonna have a public function, index function, and it's gonna return this repo all function, and it's gonna return us a collection. Another CRUD function that I'm gonna use is store function. Will give request this function is gonna return the result of create function that was defined in the base repository class. I don't want to consider the request validation, but you can define different validation rules and pass them to the controller with its construction. So let's define this function, return this repo, create all of the requests. You can put the validated request inside this function, but I don't need to validate the request. I just want to focus on repository pattern design. Another function of CRUD is show function, public function show. It will give an ID with int type and it's gonna return us model and a null or model. So it's gonna return this repo and find ID. Okay, another function is the update function. Public function update will give a request and ID. Okay, if this repo update return us a true result, it's gonna send us a successful message. The item is updated successfully. But if the repo return us a false result, it's gonna return an error message. The record the item the item doesn't exist in database. So let's define the last function. It's gonna be the destroy function. Destroy, and it will use the destroy function of the repository if this repo destroy the exist, return me a successful message. The item is deleted successfully, and if the repo returned me a false result, give me an error message. The item doesn't exist in the database. So the structure of repository design pattern is finished, but we need some changes in product repository because we need to have some additional work when we want to store a product or find a product. Let's do this. Okay, for example, I want to add categories when I want to add a product. I want to get list of categories when I want to get a product. So let's do this. I will redefine the all function of base repository. It's gonna return me this model, and this model with categories get sort by ID, and also another function that I want to define is create function, because I need to add categories along with adding a product. Okay, let's do this. Public function create. Okay, if attributes have categories, so okay, let's first create the product. Record is this model, create attributes, and if attribute has categories, let's sync this records categories with request, coming request. Okay, so let's record categories, sync with attribute record categories, else. Okay, return me the record. Okay, another function is find, because I want to return categories along with product. Categories find IT. Okay, it's done. Let's go and define the routes. Go to the routes, define API resource route, products. It's gonna use product controller class, and another route is categories, category controller class. Okay, this simple project is finished. Let's open the Postman and test the result. Okay, let's get a list of categories from the database. I'm getting an error. It says that the I-based repository is not instantiable while building category controller. I forgot to inject the category repository to the controller. So let's do this. Construct category repository repo and pass it to the parent constructor repo. Okay, category is not defined. Use app repositories and category repository. It's not defined, so let's go to the, okay, I didn't mention the name space here, app repositories. Okay, it's unknown class. Why should this happen? Category repository name space app repository and class repository. Okay, this was about typing. Okay, product controller is gonna inject public function product repository repo and pass this repository to the parent class. Okay, let's open the product repository. I forgot to mention the name space app repositories product repository. Okay, let's type this again. Okay, everything is fine. Let's test again. I want to get list of categories. I don't have any category in database, so let's add a new one. Okay, body is name, it's home. Okay, I've added a new category. I want to another one, kitchen, another one, dress. Okay, let's get list of categories. Ooh. This is a list of all categories. Now I want to delete category with one ID. The item is deleted successfully. Okay, now I want to update update the second category. Name, I wanna give it a name, shoes. But the item is updated successfully. You can return the updated record here. I just want to show that this API is working. So let's pass this APIs and let's go to define a new product. Name a product 1, inventory 1, categories with 0 index is 2, and categories with 1 index is 3. It's necessary to sync the categories to the product. So let's run this API. Product 1 is created, inventory is 1, but it doesn't give me the category list. So let's run this command. Let's run this API. Let's get list of all products. Okay, this is working. You can see the list of categories, ID 2, ID 3. This is a list of categories. Now I want to get one product. Let's run this API. As you can see, this is the product with ID 1. So let's delete the product. The item is deleted successfully. You can also return some good response. I just want to show that this API is working. As you can see, our controllers are very readable, very clean, and repository help us to make a bridge between controller and the models, and that's it. The repository design pattern, I think it's awesome. You can use it to make your code readable and clean. See you soon.